been like lived in many places. What's the change of your perspective on global stuff?
One of the things that, particularly in the American media, and I don't know if this is true in Russia or in other European countries, when they talk about Singapore in the US, like, so let's say there's a TV show like 60 Minutes and they're doing a piece that's about Singapore, or they were doing something about LKY, let's say. They would always start by saying that Singapore is an autocratic country. That's not strictly untrue. Like, in a way, it's true. But it's also incredibly benevolently governed, very competently and meritocratically governed. People laugh about the silly rules about spitting and jaywalking and whatever else, chewing gum. Yeah, those are mildly amusing, but I don't think you could live here and say that the system of government here feels like you feel on a day-to-day basis radically different than you would in a big democracy. You have to really want to get in trouble, or kick a van as it goes by.
Yeah, watch this video if you don't get the joke. I talked to my buddy, he's from France, he's French. Ask him, what's the difference for you, the main difference between Singapore and France? And he's like, in France there are in Singapore so many rules, in France kind of no rules, you can go wherever you want. But then I asked him okay, how many times do you pay the fine or you get in trouble in Singapore? And he's been in Singapore for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, I never get any fine actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reputation, but really you don't have any constraints or restrictions.
One of the things that is a huge difference here is actually that almost never see police just out on patrol here. Almost never. At the airport, of course, and maybe for certain events, you'll have people on the street. Never hear sirens, nobody pulls you over if you're speeding. You'll get a ticket in the mail. You don't feel that presence of law enforcement. I get that there are differences in the way that they select leaders and govern the country, but I never feel it. I literally never feel it.
You've been living here for 17 years. How do you think your personality was shaped is different versus how you grew up? You think you become more like a global citizen? For
sure. The US, very famously, I think less than 30% of Americans even have a passport. So from that perspective, yeah. For sure. But I also, I've been fortunate enough to travel quite a lot, so that gives me a sense of, the geography of the world and where things are, and a sense for, I don't know any language, but I know 3 words in every language kind of thing. And those 3 words are hello, thank you, and beer, or cheers sometimes. I used to live in Bukit Panjang and work down here, so when I would get off work, I hate getting on the train when it's packed, and getting on a bus at that time of day during rush hour is not very nice. So I would go a few nights a week over to a hawker place over here, which we call 34. It's actually called Pearl's Hill 34. And it's a very old school, very local hawker. And so I would go there and have a couple of beers to kill time until the traffic sort of wound down. But it got to the point where I basically knew all of the uncles by name and would speak with them in Mandarin. And I knew all of the girls who were serving the beers. So for a while, pre-COVID, I was kind of a local at that hawker place, to the point that when I moved into a block that is literally 50 meters away from there, and all of my friends thought I would be dead living so close to that place after 2 weeks. With COVID, I just stopped going there for the most part.
What's the level of your Mandarin?
I'm I would say socially competent. For day-to-day Mandarin, I'm generally okay. But if it gets into anything professional or technical or historical or political, I don't know. I don't have that vocabulary. When I was at my peak, I couldn't read, and I still can't read. I know, some simple characters, but I would say I was high intermediate probably. But now it's really it's conversational.
Let's say if you go to buy a coffee seat, and then you start chatting with some uncle, local Singaporean. Is it easy for you to just do a small talk?
One of the things that is unique, I think, for people who don't live in Singapore is that the hawker centers usually have fixed tables. And if it's crowded, then people will just come up and join and sit at your table, or they'll ask, is it okay? Most of the time that doesn't become a conversation. That's somebody who just wants a place to put their tray while they eat. But every now and then you get to talking with someone, and that's always nice. I'm not a kopi C guy, but at the hawker when you're having a beer, then that tends to be quite social. And more so as the evening goes on, of course.
What's your favorite local food?
If I were to just pick a local dish, and I'm sorry to all the Malaysians who might see this, but I do love laksa, and I know that you guys call it yours, and there is some dispute. I love laksa, but I also I eat everything. In terms of like purely Singaporean food, maybe don't eat a ton of it. I love like banh mian, and I like noodle soups, but I also like a lot of dumplings and things that remind me of when I lived in Taiwan. In People's Park, there's a couple of places that serve like cold dishes. I call it Chinese salad. That's not what it's called, liang pan. But I get like tofu and seaweed and Chinese pickles and of course pork buns to go with it, because you have to have some of that. I don't like chicken feet. I don't usually like intestine-y type stuff, just from a texture point of view. The taste is fine. Not a lot of insides. I do like liver a lot though.